So sorry, so sorry for the interruption. So I was saying that India's 7,500-kilometer coastline is highly vulnerable to tropical cyclones, leading to displacement, loss of livelihood, and humanitarian crisis. In this context, women-led shelter management has emerged a critical factor in ensuring resilience, inclusivity, and community trust. With this, today's discussion will explore inspiring practices from India, highlighting how women's leadership has strengthened community preparedness, inclusive education, and shelter operations. We are honored to be joined by the panel of distinguished speakers who bring deep expert and field experiences in disaster risk reduction, community mobilization, and inclusive governance. Their insights will help us understand how women's leadership in cyclone shelter not only saves lives but also strengthens system and builds more resilient community. As we aim to maintain the flow of session and ensure the equal opportunity for all speakers, I kindly request everyone to adhere to the time limit for each session. If the participant have any question during the session, please write them in the chat box. We'll take them up during the open discussion session. Starting with the session one, advancing women leadership in shelter management. We have with us Mr. Meghanand Behra, senior consultant, senior DRR consultant, OSDMA. Mr. Meghanand Behra is a seasoned disaster risk reduction professional with 2 decades of experience in project management, community interface, and capacity building. He is currently serving as a senior DRR consultant at Odisha State Disaster Management Authority and has also worked with UNDP, UNICEF, and Ernst and Young on disaster preparedness, shelter management, and risk-informed developing planning. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Uh, am I audible?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah,
You're audible, sir.
just give me 2 minutes to share my.
Sure.
Yeah, it's visible.
It is visible, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you all the participants. Welcome to this webinar on women-led shelter management in coastal states of India. Uh, I know the 1999 super cyclone opened the eye for everybody in disaster management. But what Odisha has learned from this super cyclone? That from that experience, Odisha shift the focus from response to preparedness and mitigation. Then government of Odisha set up Odisha State Disaster Management Authority as the first such authority in India. Then there is a dedicated response force for search and rescue, and also fire service as the first responder at district and block level. In Odisha, now we have around 346 fire stations across the state. Then the SEP shelter, that is dedicated multi-purpose cyclone shelters and flood shelters along the coast and flood affected areas into 25 districts of Odisha. Then that what the most important thing is last mile connectivity. Basically, Odisha is focusing on impact-based forecasting, reaching the unreachable. That way we can save a lot of lives and people. Then community-based disaster management that has been started with the support of UNDP. UNDP has given a lot of ideas, a lot of expertise and experience how to make community more resilient, more involved in disaster management, and to go ahead and that plan also continue. Then community-based community and other stakeholder. ମୁଁ ଗୋଟେ ମିଟିଂରେ ଅଛି ପରେ କଥା ହେବି ମୁଁ ପରେ କଥା ହେବି then government and non-government organization coordination, that all these things we have learned from the super cyclone and the journey started. Then government of Odisha has set up the mission zero casualty. Basically, the timely and accurate prediction. Then pre-positioning of men and material and machine for management of any disaster. Then safe evacuation. As per the need, there is a two type of evacuation in Odisha. One is targeted evacuation, another is blanket evacuation. Targeted evacuation is to evacuate the people where only the cyclone is coming, there is no storm surge. So people from the kacha houses, from the asbestos houses, and, from these houses, you take the people to safe shelters. Another is the blanket evacuation. Blanket evacuation means wind with storm surge. Whoever people are in the coastal area, you evacuate them to a safe shelter. Then the mission zero casualty will be attained or achieved safe shelter. That of constructed Odisha safe shelter. Then communicating the community. If you are going to the community by occasionally on a very on regular basis, people will not listen them. Then you have to communicate the community regularly. You have to be with the community throughout the year. Then community will listen you. Then you can also increase the community participation. That Odisha is doing now. Then how, why the cyclone shelter concept has come to Odisha? Why Odisha government has taken a lot of initiative for construction of cyclone shelter? The genesis for sheltering the affected communities started from 1999 onwards. Before 1999, there was 23 multi-purpose cyclone shelters have been constructed by Indian Red Cross Society. For that, Odisha saved around 40,000 people. During super cyclone, Odisha government lost around 10,000 precious lives. But if there were no cyclone shelter of Indian Red Cross Society, then we could have lost another 40,000 people. From that, the concept of cyclone shelter or flood shelter started. Then Odisha government constructed 900 plus multi-purpose cyclone and flood shelters. The selection of sites is done by grid analysis by IIT Kharagpur for site selection. Then community involvement for formation of cyclone shelter or for the cyclone shelter maintenance and management committee or flood shelter maintenance and management committee is very important. Then after construction of the cyclone shelters, it has been handed over to the community for their management. And each and every cyclone center given 30 to 40, 30 to 34 types of equipment for management of their manager of disaster in their locality. That is the genesis of shelter in Odisha. Then cyclone shelter or flood shelter is a two type of institution. One is a physical structure, another is social virtual structure. And what is physical structure? It is a 24 into 7 power backup. It is a steel building. It is a multi-resistant building also. It is a steel structure. It has protected plinth area and separate hall and toilet for male, female, people with disability and transgenders. So this is called virtual. That is called physical structure. And what's the virtual structure or social structure? The it's the proactive involvement of PRI members in disaster management that is there in the cyclone shelter. Then village disaster management committee constituted wherever each and every village in the coastal areas in the cyclone affected areas. Then participation of women SH members. That is most well know in Odisha there are 70 lakh members of women's SH self-help group. So their participation also vital. Then formation of disaster management team, task forces, for management of disaster in their locality. Cyclone Shelter Management and Maintenance Committee or Flood Shelter Maintenance and Management Committee. It's a individual, community, and family level preparedness also. That is because of cyclone shelters. You already I have told you we have 911 multi-purpose cyclone and flood shelters in 25 districts of Odisha, and each cyclone shelters having 20 to 25 members of cyclone shelter maintenance or management committee or flood shelter maintenance management committee. I will come to the committee, how the committee is formed and how they are managing the shelters. You see, the red buttons are the cyclone shelters and blue buttons are the flood shelters. Then how the cyclone shelter, multi-purpose cyclone shelter or flood shelters will be a sustainable model? How make it sustainable? All the cyclone shelters are managed and maintained by the community. It is managed by the community. Cyclone Shelter Management and Maintenance Committee or Flood Shelter Management and Maintenance Committee is constituted of government officials, PRI representatives, social leaders, self-help group leaders, community members. It's a composition of all categories of people. There is a provision of corpus fund for the cyclone shelters. Government of Odisha given 5 lakhs to each cyclone shelters and given 85 multi-purpose cyclone shelters as corpus fund. Then another 400 800 corpus fund created for 800 multi-purpose cyclone and flood shelters. The for their from that whatever interest will incur from the corpus fund, they will go for minor repairing and capacity building. Then for upkeeping of the cyclone shelters, that fund will be used. Then they are also collect the users fee for maintenance. That is a very vital things for maintenance and management of the cyclone shelters. Then all the cyclone shelter maintenance and management committee are registered under Society Registration Act 1860, which was introduced in from 2007 onwards. So all the cyclone shelter maintenance management committee or flood shelter maintenance management committee are registered under Society Registration Act. So how the committee constituted? The committee constituted through a village or Palli Sabha. Sarpanch is the president of the CSMMC or FSMMC. Uh, the tenure of the CSMMC is 3 years, but the president, Sarpanch is the president, but it's the co-terminus with his Sarpanch position, co-terminus with his tenure. So, who will the next Sarpanch? He will be the president of that committee. Other members are from both government and private members, government officials, PRA revenue, already I have told you. Minimum 30% of the total member are women. That may be a SHG member, maybe a ward member, maybe members from the minorities communities, from the short village. There are 20 to 25 members. I'll come to that. You see, Sarpanch is the president, Panchayat executive officer is the vice president, one of the community volunteers to be selected as the secretary. That will be selected by the committee, the CSMMC. They will select who will be the member of this committee. Then assistant engineer, junior engineer, local RW section, they are also member. Local revenue inspector is the member, and headmaster, principal of the school or college close to the cyclone shelter and flood shelter, they are also all the member. Then local ANM, local Anganwadi workers, PRA representatives, that then concerned ward member of the main village and concerned ward member of the hamlet or small village to which the MCS or MFS serves. Then one representative from local NGO or the village youth club, they are also member. 2 to 3 representatives from SHG, self-help group members. One active member of the SHG to be selected in the village meeting. Then 2 3 women representatives from different community, they also member. one representative from SC/ST minority community. They are also member. Shelter village, served village representatives. Then representatives from the special abled person. No, almost 20 to 25% became the member of the cyclone shelter management and maintenance committee or flood shelter maintenance and management committee. Each and every cyclone shelters have 50 task force volunteers. Basically, 25 for search and rescue, 25 for first aid, and they are trained on different disaster management skills like search and rescue, first aid, relief coordination, early warning, then water and sanitation, first aid, debris management, operation and maintenance of equipments. The those volunteers are trained on that. Then government officials also member of this committee and management of the shelter. NGOs also trained on how to manage and maintain the cyclone shelter or flood shelters, and also PRA members. They are also trained how to manage and maintain the cyclone shelters. During the cyclone, even in the normal situation, how to manage the shelters. There is a social and shelter level training. Every cyclone shelters given 11 days training program. 1 day for shelter management, how to manage the shelter. That committee members are trained. Basically, maintenance, upkeeping, how they will do this. That training will be provided. Then fourth training program on search and rescue. The volunteers will train how they will operate or how they will search and rescue the people during any extreme events in that area. Then 3 day first aid training. Then 1 day shelter record keeping. You, because these are the permanent shelters. All shelters having the stock book, the cash book, the passbook, and bank passbook. How they will maintain it. That training we are providing to the cyclone shelters for management and how they will maintain during the time of disaster if people are coming to the taking shelter. That is also the committee members and the volunteers are trained. Then 2 days operation and maintenance of shelter level equipment. Already I have told you there are 32 types of or 30, some shelters are given 32 type of equipments, and some shelters are given 34 types of equipment. But how to manage and maintain, how to operate also, the volunteers are trained on that. Then just in the previous slide, I was trained communicating the community. That is very, very important to evacuate the people or to give early warning or keep living with them the community. That is most important. Communicate the community. That is why Odisha government is organizing disaster management exercise in different times and different phases. But there is a ritual in 19th of June and 18th and 19th of June. There is a disaster management exercise across the state in all 30 districts. That is a tabletop exercise. Then all 30 blocks for tabletop exercise, and 115 urban local bodies will also organize tabletop exercise. Basically, to see their preparedness, how they are prepared to face any disaster. Like this, there is disaster management exercise at a shelter level. All the shelters, how they are faced, whatever plan they have prepared, that plan is working or not, that their equipments are working or not, or they are ready to face any cyclone or flood or not. That has been prepared, tested in the shelter level disaster management exercise. Mostly all the villagers are involved. The mock drill starts from early warning, starts from the warning, then early warning dissemination, then evacuation of the people, then there is a demonstration on search and rescue, first aid, and some other disaster management skills, and with some improvised method. Then there is a general meeting regarding the disaster management, how they will do, how they will progress if something will happen in their village. Then some relief activities for giving them food and D1. The entire process they follow during the mock drill. And it's a ritual in Odisha. Every year on 19th of June, a disaster management exercise will be conducted in all the cyclone shelters and flood shelters across the state. These are the equipments we are providing to the cyclone shelters. That is inflatable tower light, aluminum ladder, then electric siren, live buoy, then handheld searchlight, first aid box and stretchers, then inflatable tower light, life jacket, handheld megaphone, free power radio, then digi set, life jacket, handheld sorry, these are things already we are providing to the shelters. Then all the shelters are universally access. There is accessibility by a ramp to all the shelters. There is a PW friendly equipments at the shelters. All the cyclone shelters having special level friendly the washroom that is available, and also there is a provision how the visually impaired people move to the cycle center, that is there, you can see in the photograph. So all the cyclone shelters are universally accessed and also managed like that also, with the during the normal time the cyclone shelters are basically engaged in for school, for Anganwadi, for government meeting and training. Then even if some of the SHG members they are doing their sewing machine or all things, they're involved. Even if some of the shelters where these activities are not done, given for coaching center or colleges or some other activities to protect the shelters from the antisocial activities and to make it upkeep or ready for use. And how women participation in this cyclone shelter management and maintenance. CSMMC, FMCMC manage the shelter. That I already have told you. That is the community. They are managing. They are the owner of the shelter. Even if the collector wants to take the cyclone shelter for use, they cannot take without permission of the CSMMC or FSMMC. They have to take the permission of the CSMMC. 40% of the member of the CSMMC, FMC are women. They are involved in different activities. They are leading the management of shelters. 435 out of 911 presidents of the CSMMC and or FSMMC are women. They are the sarpanch. They are managing the cyclone shelters. 30% of the task force members are women. You see how they are involved in different disaster management activities in the shelter. So and their participation is very vital. And during the any disaster, so even if the Abda Mitra volunteers are so very active, the women Abda Mitra volunteers are very active in our state. Women SHG members are members cook food and provide during capacity building activities and emergencies. So our disaster management activities in Odisha, particularly not only in cyclone shelter management or shelter management, in all aspect of disaster management, they are very much active. They are very much involved, and also they are leading in disaster management in our state. Because of the participation of the women, we are able to save lakhs of life during any cyclone shelter. And our cyclone shelters are properly managed where, and better managed where women participation is more. That's why
So
in our
we need to
sorry.
wrap up. So we need to wrap up.
Yeah. So it's the last slide. So
Okay.
women participation and women involvement in managing cyclone shelter and flood disaster is vital, and government of Odisha giving importance for their participation and how they will lead the process. That's why we have established a cell called Gender and Social Inclusion in DRR, and that the cell is working to participation of all level of people in disaster management or disaster risk reduction process. Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you.
thank you so much, sir, for highlighting the transformative role women have played in cyclone shelters and their participation and pivotal role of OSDM in ensuring the safe evacuation, dignity, and resilience. Moving forward to session two. If anybody has any kind of question, they can put it in the chat box and we will take it forward in the open discussion session. Uh, Moving forward with session two, community-based early warning and preparedness for cyclones. We have with us Dr. B. Srijit, State Program Officer, Kudumbashri. Uh, Dr. B. Srijit is the State Program Officer at Kudumbashri Mission with 27 years of experience and leadership experience, a PhD holder, and education and net UGC net JRF awardee. He's a recipient of two national awards from NCRT and Educational Innovations and International Award for Educational Research. He has founded several educational initiatives, authored award-winning books, and continue to contribute to participatory research and community empowerment through Kudumbashri. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. So, first of all, greetings from Kudumbashri Mission. Am I audible? Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And so, actually, I am attending this program in the midst of our Onam celebration. So, first of all, happy Onam to all of you. So, Onam, our traditional and national festival, is going on here everywhere in the vibe of Onam. Okay, then Kudumbashri is the world's largest women empowerment organization, and we are conducting a lot of activities in the field of women empowerment, in the field of disaster management also. And the way Kudumbashri Mission has received a number of awards and recognitions in the area of women empowerment. We put such a number of world records in the case of this women empowerment. Kudumbashri is the organization which conducted the world's largest children's international summit on waste management. And Kudumbashri Mission very recently conducted the world's first children's international film festival based for the tribal children, based on the films developed by themselves. So many awards and recognitions and something like that regarding about this Kudumbashri Mission. See, coming to this matter about the disaster management, first of all, let me speak about one of my very recent experience regarding the disaster management. So 2 years before, so we had a flood in Trivandrum city. That means the flood affected some of the houses in the Trivandrum city. Actually, this flood that was affected in some of the in Karakutam, that is the Techno city. So at that time, so many houses were afflicted by this flood. So, as a program officer of Kudumbashri Mission, I decided to visit these places, and I, along with my staff, and I visited some of the shelter camps. So at first, we reached one shelter camp, and that shelter camp was functioning inside a mosque, inside a campus of a Muslim Jamaat. So before visiting that particular place, we hope that there will be the members of the family of the Muslims. But when we reached there, we could see that almost all the members of the community were there. That means there were Christians and there were Hindus, and they were seen in the campus of the farmers of the mosque in the shelter camp, in the relief camp. They were living there in a very harmonious mode. That means they were sharing the food inside that particular campus of the mosque, and they were sharing the shelter, everything. You can see that we could see that in a harmonious mode. And one thing I noted that's very important to notice that that shelter camp was managed. That shelter camp functioned inside that Muslim Jamaat, or inside the campus of the mosque was managed by a group of women. That means a group of women managed that. And that means our self-help group members, the members of the Kudumbashri, they managed almost all the activities there. That means they coordinated activities, they supported all the activities. That means they were distributing their food packets or something like that. Almost all the activities were managed by women. Another thing I would like to note that the children of all the communities were together. They were enjoying that particular situation. So after that, after the relief camp, we had a news that the children of that relief camp, they were they were reluctant to leave that particular camp situation, that campus or that relief camp, because there were so many attached, they were attached towards that particular situation. And the children were so many attached towards the situation created inside the mosque, that was that communal situation. See, this is actually a Kerala story. This is actually the Kerala story of disaster management. See, first, why I narrated this particular story is that our women groups, our self-help group members, are able to manage the situation by coordinating almost all the members of the society, almost all the sections of the society. You know that when the disaster happened, at the time of the disaster, that the authorities of the mosque, they opened their door and accepted all the people towards such particular mosque. And everything were coordinated by the group of women. So our group of women, they are able to coordinate these types of innovative activities. So coming to some of the activities conducted by the Kudumbashree Mission. See, regarding the disaster management, we conducted one program, that is Sajjam. Sajjam, actually, that program, at first we conducted the program Sajjam for the Balasabha children. Balasabha is the children's initiative of the Kudumbashree Mission. So we conducted that particular program for the children, and we developed a particular module in association with the Kerala State Disaster Management Authority and educational institutions. So we conducted so many workshops by including the educational experts and experts in the field of disaster management. After that, we developed a particular module, and based on the module, we trained the state resource group, then the district resource group, then the main target group. So the main target group were the children. So anyway, we trained 1 lakh children based on this disaster management. So after this training, we designated these 1 lakh children as the DRR fellows. That means disaster risk reduction fellows. So actually, the duty of the DRR fellow or the disaster risk reduction fellow is not to act as a volunteer when a disaster happens, but their duty is to educate others. The duty is to empower others in the case of the disaster management. The Sajjam, the name means to make them ready. That means to make the meaning in English is make them ready. Sajjam is a Malayalam word, and to make them ready to address the situation. That means they were made ready to address the situation, and they were supposed to empower, or they were supposed to strengthen other members of the society. So by using these disaster risk reduction fellows, we trained other members of the society. See, for the women, the grown-up women, so their role was that they participated the program in coordinating almost all the activities. They arranged all the situations. They conducted the program at the grassroots level. So they were considered as the indirect target group. So so as an indirect target group, they also were strengthened. So we could create a group of women who were strengthened, or who were that means empowered in the case of the disaster management. So that's the program conducted by the Kudumbashree Mission. So for the women, we have for the Kudumbashree Mission, we have the volunteers, the coastal volunteers, and these coastal volunteers were given a regular training program regarding this to combat with this particular situation, what happens at the time of the cyclones and at the time of the disaster or something like that. So we are continuously providing training program for the coastal volunteers in addressing this particular situation. So many other programs are being managed, being conducted and managed by the Kudumbashree Mission in association with this particular. So let me point out some other programs. So first of all, I pointed out one program about the world's first children's international. Okay, sorry, there was a disruption. And okay, let me come to the point. We conducted the first Children's International Film Festival for the children based on the films developed by themselves. So actually, our children they visited their places and they observed the nature, and based on their nature, they discuss about the issues that is to be happened in the nature, and and they found out many issues and regarding the disaster or the natural phenomenon or something like that. So based on these issues, they wrote their own stories. They wrote stories. They developed some narratives. They developed some stories, and based on these particular stories, the Kudumbashree Mission assisted them to develop their own screenplays. So they transformed their stories into the screenplays, and these screenplays were developed into films. That means the children developed their own films, and that means our children became the film directors. So most of the content of the films, or most of the theme of the films were the disaster management, the how to address the particular situation, especially when it comes about the cyclone and some floods, some other disasters. So we provided enough opportunities for the children to study this particular situation, and they developed their own films, and based on the films, they conducted we conducted the international film festival based on the films developed by themselves. So this was actually this was an education program. So this education program was based on the constructivist philosophy. That means they constructed the knowledge. They developed their own knowledge. They created the knowledge. Not the transferring of the knowledge or the transferring of the information, but they developed their own knowledge. So that is the importance of that particular one, and therefore they realized that particular situation in a very effective way. And now we do strongly believe that the children who participated in this particular program are more enough to they are enabled, or they are more strengthened to handle the situation when a disaster comes. So this is one thing. See, Kerala was afflicted with the flood last year. The Chural Malay Mundakai in Wayanad district was afflicted with the flood, and that particular situation, we conducted so many programs for the volunteers, the women volunteers, and for the children and for everybody. So for the children in the disaster-prone area, we conducted another program. That the name of the program was Dhruva. And actually, this program was a disaster management program. So this program was a personality development program also, and we designed this program to address the trauma developed at the children at the time of the disaster. So anyway, in association with that, we conducted so many programs, and we conducted some happiness programs to overcome that particular situation. And then after that, they provided so many opportunities for them to act as a volunteer or act as an educator at the time of the disaster. And for that, we provided them enough opportunities based on the playway method, and based on this the game-oriented approach, and based on some narrative-based approach. So anyway, Kudumbashree Mission has developed so many materials based on the playway method, and based on this narrative-based method, and based on the phenomenon-based learning regarding this disaster management. So we have a particular resource pool. We have a lot of resources for the children and for the women regarding like that. So that we are providing continuous training program for them. See, we Kudumbashree Mission Ka is conducting many programs for the personality development, for the education, for the tribal children, for the coastal children, for the tribal women, for the coastal women, etc. So in almost all these programs, we focus on this area. That means the disaster management. And very recently we started another program for Communicore. So actually this program Communicore was to improve the communicating competence of the youth And for that, we conducted so many programs. So many activities were planned by the Kudumbashree Mission and implementing that. But the themes we address for that the training program was disaster management also, and therefore they participated many programs. So they developed their own songs, they wrote their own songs, they wrote their own slogans, and they wrote so many placards, cartoons, and many activities, many linguistic activities they have done based on this particular theme, the disaster management. So as a theme is considered as the disaster management, we could integrate so many other programs. So we are conducting another programs based on for the development of the multiple intelligence of the women. So for the multiple intelligence of the women, we have so many programs. So very recently we started one program. I meant multiple intelligence for the bodily kinesthetic intelligence, for the interpersonal intelligence, for the intrapersonal intelligence, for the naturalistic intelligence, and for the rational mathematical, or something like this. So for the multiple intelligence. So in that program also the theme or the phenomenon we made was one program was the disaster management. So for that they could participate in many activities regarding this particular theme. Therefore, they could inquire so many issues based on that. What are the social issues regarding the disaster management? They could find out, and we suppose them to find out these so many issues, and they are supposed to find out they are supposed to find out the actions and what are the solutions for that. So actually, the participants are finding out the solutions. So we are following this phenomenon-based approach. We are following this participatory approach. So in this participatory approach, our women participants, they are exposed. They are expected to find out the solutions. They are expected to find out some alternative methods, and we are providing them enough opportunities to try out that situation. So they are able to experiment that particular situation. This experiment is conducted at various sectors, and after conducting this experimentation, they try to develop their own competence in addressing the disaster situation. So that's our strategy. So and many programs are being planned by the Kudumbashree Mission to empower the women regarding this particular one. So I have noticed so many programs. So anyway, during this midsummer vacation, we started one program. Actually, this program for the youth and children, and this is Kudumbashree Mind Blowers Leora Fest for the children. So here the students were and the youth were expected to develop their thinking capacity. They are about to develop. We are going to develop them as our think tank. So that means the rational thinking capacity is very important. The creativity is very important. So we have started this particular program. In that particular program, started in the in the summer vacation. Now we have decided to provide them the monsoon fellowship. So for the monsoon fellowship, the Kudumbashree Mission and Government of Kerala, we are providing the monsoon fellowship in association with another agency, that is the Udyog Learning Foundation. So this is the monsoon fellowship. Why do we give monsoon fellowship? Is that our students are need to do certain research based on the monsoon. So actually, monsoon caused so many disaster in Kerala, and therefore we provided them the monsoon fellowship. The selected children were given the monsoon fellowships, and that program is going on now, and so many other programs. So now let me conclude with this. So actually, I was speaking about some of the initiatives taken by the Kudumbashree Mission to address the disaster issue that happens in Kerala. So actually, Kerala is a disaster-prone area. We have the Western Ghats and we have the long coastal area. So many disaster issues are there. So anyway, we are trying to provide continuous and comprehensive support for the women in addressing this particular one. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So once again, Onam greetings to all of you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing how women networks and SSGs have become the backbone of the community and the pivotal role of Kudumbashree in making it happen. Thank you so much, sir. Moving forward, our session three, focusing on inclusive and safe cyclone shelter design and management. We have with us Miss Monisha Majumdar, thematic associate, Caritas India. Miss Monisha Majumdar is a humanitarian and development professional. One second. One second. Professional. Development professional with over 3 years at Caritas India, where she has led multiple disaster response across the country. She has previously served as Gandhi Fellow with Piramal Swasthya, contributing to grassroots health and education initiatives. With masters in conflict management and development from Banaras Hindu University and a bachelor's in geography from Loreto College. Her work focuses on linking anticipatory action, gender equity, and local leadership in humanitarian response. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sanchita. Thank you for the introduction. Good afternoon to everyone present here. I hope I'm audible.
You're perfectly on.
Yeah, thank you. So it is a privilege to be part of this panel and especially hearing my fellow panelists speak in detail about how the OSDMA is working and about the Kudumbashri. They're fantastic initiatives and it's really nice to listen to such experiences and initiatives in person. Thank you. I will begin with my part as in very brief and I'll keep it very crisp. So the first thing is whenever we talk about disaster response, the first image that strikes our mind are mostly strong structures, concrete shelters, or safe evacuation. But for communities that are rushing into these cyclone shelters, women carrying infants, children separated from their mothers, um, elderly who can barely walk, the shelter is not just concrete. It is a safe space for them, a place and space where they look for dignity, trust, and safety either being upheld or being compromised. So and this is where inclusivity becomes the key word. A shelter that is not inclusive risks leaving out the very people who need it most. India is no stranger to cyclones. States like Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, and Tamil Nadu have invested thousands and thousands in multi-purpose cyclone shelters. These are engineering marvels in many ways, but the true success that we see lies not only in the structures, in the concrete, but how accessible, how safe are these, and how inclusive they are for all sections of the community: women, men, children, elderly, and persons with disabilities. The sphere shelter standards remind us that shelters are not just about walls and roofs. They are about restoring safety, dignity, family life, and livelihoods. A timely and well designed shelter can save lives in the immediate aftermath of a cyclone. But appropriate and inclusive shelter also sustains recovery for the longer run. Today, I want to share some of the best practices that and innovations, lessons from the ground that we have had over the years, and particularly where women have taken their leadership roles and how these efforts are reshaping what safe and inclusive shelters mean to us. Um, Let me begin with Odisha. During Cyclone Fani in 2019, over 1 million people were evacuated in one of the largest peacetime operations in the world. At the heart of this effort were the Mission Shakti women's self-help groups. Their contributions was not limited to mobilizing people. They made sure the shelters were well equipped with separate sanitation facilities for women, that drinking water was available, and that lighting inside the shelters reduced the risks of harassment. This was not accidental. It was women bringing their lived experiences into disaster management. They understood that privacy, sanitation, and security are as critical as walls, roofs, when hundreds of people are living together in fear and uncertainty. Similarly, in Andhra Pradesh, under the Velugu program, women's groups went a step further. They were entrusted with managing hundreds of multipurpose cyclone shelters through the cyclone shelter management and maintenance committees, as was also mentioned by Shrijit ji. These groups took on regular cleaning, maintenance, and even small repair works. They monitored how resources were distributed inside shelters and ensured accountability. This made these sorts of efforts make these cyclone shelters not only ready for disasters, but they are trusted by the community as well. Now, if we go to our neighboring country, Bangladesh, and also the adjoining parts of West Bengal, which again has a long shared history of cyclone impacts and cyclone preparedness, over the years, their shelters have evolved to reflect universal design. Newer shelters integrate ramps for people facing mobility challenges. Those concerns are also addressed. Raised platforms are built for livestock. Designated spaces are given for breastfeeding mothers, and desegregated sanitation facilities are maintained on a regular basis. So, this is a reminder that inclusivity is not only limited to certain sections of the society, but they are built on the very design of the structures themselves. And they are not something that come as an afterthought, but it's more of an integrated concept when we work on shelters. Here, the sphere standards on settlement planning are a useful reminder. Location, accessibility, and adequate space are all that matter. We often quote that figure of um, 3.5 square meters per person as the minimum living space standard. But in practice, shelters are frequently overcrowded at double or triple their density. And I'm very sure that most of you must have seen or experienced this once or twice in your experiences. What is the result of this? Women and girls lose privacy, children lose safe spaces to play, and elderly people struggle to move around. So, the lesson across these examples is very clear. Safe design is not only about engineering, it is about the social realities of those who use the space. Shelters succeed when they are planned and managed when, with people, especially women, at the center. One of the most striking things I have seen in my work is how women identify gaps that often are overlooked. Take hygiene, for example. During emergencies, menstrual hygiene needs are frequently ignored or addressed through blanket efforts. In Odisha, women leaders introduced menstrual hygiene corners in cyclone shelters where our interventions were ongoing. They set up disposal bins, ensured access to sanitary products, and created safe spaces for adolescent girls. These small interventions had massive impact on the dignity and well-being, and they also ensured that the participation from these groups were higher. Another innovation is in safety. In several coastal districts, women advocated for solar powered lighting around cyclone shelters. Why is this important? Because poor lighting increases the risk of harassment and makes women and children feel unsafe. This often increases the chances of harassment and cases of um, molestations. So, solar lighting is affordable, sustainable, and it changes how people experience the space. And this is where women leadership had put forward the requirements and the practical innovations that could be put in smaller places. Women have also championed multi-purpose use of shelters. In Andhra Pradesh, many shelters doubled up as schools and for community halls during the normal peace times. This means they are cleaned, maintained, and remain functional throughout the year. When disaster strikes, they can be used immediately without frantic last minute preparations. So this multi-purpose model reflects resilience in infrastructural design. It is not only the last minute preparedness or the last minute cleaning that goes in, but it's a very well maintained thought through process which remains accessible to people for various requirements. As Mr. Shijit was saying, and so was Mr. Behra, that um, through access the shelters, there is a certain amount of I think permit that is required from the local communities who are maintaining these infrastructures. So this ensures that it's protected as well as maintained and it will remain accessible whenever in need. As one proverb used in shelter programming says, I'll read it out from. Yeah. There is nothing more permanent than a temporary solution. So, cyclone shelters may have been conceived as emergency structures, but in reality, they have become permanent anchors of community life. And women's leadership ensures they remain safe, inclusive, and ready. Let me now turn to the question of inclusion. A shelter that does not serve the elderly, children, or persons with disability cannot be called safe. During Cyclone Yas, there were stories of elderly women being physically carried to shelters because there were no ramps or mobility friendly pathways. For them, the absence of design features was not an inconvenience, it was rather life threatening for them. Children too have unique needs. In some shelters, women created child friendly spaces, simple corners with mats, toys, and activities. This reduced trauma for children, gave parents some peace of mind, and also ensured that the adolescents and the volunteers within the communities and groups could be engaged in something productive. And from here, I'll come to the very final section, that is um, the socially marginalized groups. Single women, widows, persons with disability who often end up invisible during emergencies. Women leaders inside shelters often ensure that these groups are not pushed aside when food is distributed or resources are shared. Women are often considered as the very central and nodal point of maternal care and overall care within the Indian families. And that also reflects when we look at cyclone shelters, where women take leadership in nurturing the people and taking care of the affected people. Um, Therefore, inclusivity is not just an afterthought, it is the very essence of resilience. And if a shelter cannot protect its most vulnerable, it has failed in its purpose. With this, as I close, let me return to the principle that guides us. The quality of humanitarian response is measured not only by the aid we deliver, but how people experience dignity, safety, and inclusion. When women lead shelter design and management, shelters stop being mere structures. They become sanctuaries, places where people feel safe, where dignity is protected, and where resilience is nurtured. People fit from our various number of interviews that we did after our responses in various parts of our country. The one thing that has been common throughout is the fact that people have been heard. They feel they were able to share, irrespective of the gender, whether men or women were able to share in much larger ways than they could have if they only men were leading it. Therefore, we believe that ensuring that women participation and leadership in these efforts is very, very critical. Um, India has invested heavily in cyclone preparedness. So our next step is to invest equally in systems of inclusion and community leadership. So my request from today's webinar, the takeaways that we will be taking back with all of us are two things. Build stronger walls that withstand cyclones and build stronger systems of inclusivity that withstand inequality and inclusion. That is the real path to resilience. And with that, I close it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for drawing your attention to the importance of inclusive shelter design and the case studies you have mentioned, that the need of inclusivity in the shelter design is very important for us at this point of time. Thank you so much. And moving forward, our last session, which is on scaling, replication, and multi-stakeholder collaboration. We have with us Ms. Abha Mishra, Head of Office, Odisha UNDP. Ms. Abha Mishra is a seasoned development professional with over 30 years of experience in disaster risk reduction, livelihood, housing and women empowerment, and travel development. She began her journey with UNDP 1999 as UN volunteer supporting emergency response in super cyclone in Odisha. In 2017, she returned to Odisha as the journey from volunteer to senior leadership. A development anthropologist by training, Ma'am has worked extensively with government, NGOs, and international agencies, bringing deep expertise and strong community focus to her work in building resilience and inclusive development. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. And I think all my previous speakers have made my job quite, easy. Uh, we have seen from the session by Meghnath that how shelters are being constructed, and the last speaker has also mentioned why it has to be more and more inclusive. Uh, However, and in between, the Kutumbushri presentation highlighted how women are being trained to be a willing participant in the whole disaster management scenario. But even before we get into that, we really need to also identify uh, where women's engagement is important. One of the things which we none of us looked at was, were women involved at all in the designing or the discourse of shelter management? What excess uh, meant to them in the particular site which was identified for them? So, we need to think about in terms of the administration and safety within these shelters, and then also look at how women are, which roles women are also going to perform. And when it comes to networking, it's very, very important that women are not just looked at as mere participant, but active members, partners. Many a times when we even speak, we keep on speaking as if they are beneficiaries. They are not. We are wanting them to become partners in this journey, in this in the management of these shelters. So for that, it is very, very important for all of us also to understand um, how what women needs, and how would they like to be prepared. And that is where the whole multi stakeholder participation becomes more and more important, because we have academic institutions, we have private institutions, we have agencies like Sphere, and a lot of community based organization besides the ever present government. And while we all are striding in our own isolated ways to work with women, somewhere we are missing the gap. We are missing it. We are not able to bring ourselves together. I'll give you just one small case. Today morning I was attending a heat and cooling systems um, for the cities. It's a part of a discourse of disaster management. So when we are talking about it, have we actually uh, really thought about how it would feel for a woman to be cooking in the kitchen? Are we also looking at that? That would be the first thing that a women will say, oh, I have to still stand and do my cooking for about an hour or two to feed everyone. So in the cyclone shelters also, be it the flood cyclone shelter, be it the cyclone shelters, that inclusivity which was talked about becomes very, very important. And as I saw in the chat, Kalika mentioning that we, in Orissa specifically, we have thought about, you know, the differentially abled persons' requirements, We have thought about men and women, so we have separated them. But did we think about the transgender also? And that's where a lot of time women uh, so that's where a lot of time when women are leading the shelters or the management of shelters, uh, they provide a better administration, is because as daughters, mothers, wives, mother in laws, aunts, within a confined space, they have seen the differential needs and also, you know, cater to the differential needs. Once that is done, the the knowledge which organizations like Kutumbushiri is giving, or Mission Shakti is giving, or the Seva has been giving to the women folk amplifies. And so, one is the physical aspect of the structure itself, which is very, very important, and it needs partnership with different organizations who understands the needs of different types of intersectionality of uh, the various genders. That's the first thing. The second thing which is required and which is very, very important is the capacity building and the training and the knowledge which is required. Many a times we feel, oh, one is, management of food, the other is first aid. That becomes the, purview of women's work. No, why cannot the relief management be done? Because I'm sure they could do a far, far better job also. Can we train young girls to become good, you know, persons who can provide the safety for both men and women? And I think many states are already taking a lot of steps. We have had our NDRFs and ODRFs in the initial phases as only men organizations. But now, slowly and steadily, we are seeing a lot more women coming into it, because we have understood that they are also required when we have to do in the similar way for the shelter management. The shelter management committees also need not tokenism women participation, but real women participation who are able to contribute to it. And in some places it happens better, because we are diverse country, we have diverse type of cultures, social norms, but within given that we need to bring that the approach, and that cohesiveness is also cannot be done by a single agency. It needs multi-stakeholder engagement. I also feel that there are a lot of work which women could contribute, and specifically when it is community led, is the innovation of managing within the given resources. Uh, if if I have only 1 kg of rice, a woman knows how much has to be given to each. So at least everybody has something to eat and not feel empty while, the distribution process is going on. Or how to take care of a lot of things. So it's very important for us to um, bring in more and more research studies where we could highlight how women can be involved and what is the way they can be taken forward, in term by training them, by empowering them, not only by tokenism, but rather than also funds, financial knowledge, accounting knowledge, data management, and today, why not technology? How many women are using technology to, the manage the shelter which is being done? Because women get into the whole care economy immediately after the disaster. So it is very, very important for us also to look at that particular aspect within the shelter management. Because many a times for us within a shelter, it is about food, relief distribution, and a little bit of safety. And that's it. Nowadays, a little bit of medical services, health services are also being provided. So maybe somewhere we really need to uh, break it down a little bit and then look at forward. Within from the shelter management also, it bring it also the recovery aspects have to be started. So can the shelter management groups of women um, support the community to come up with housing solutions, short term, medium term, long term solutions, which are being supported by various organizations. So I would like to say here one thing, that we need to uh, capacitate women to help women, so by increasing their self esteem and confidence to manage such mammoth work. We also need to focus on their safety and well-being, because a lot of times, um, uh, women specifically, if you look at the COVID or the floods, where women themselves are victims, will they be able to provide that services which is required when their counterparts don't have anything to do, and they have to become the caregivers, and also along with also service providers? What is How are they being supported? That's also very, very important to understand when we are talking about involving more and more women in the management portion of it. The final word I would say is, community is made up of both genders, along with the third gender which is coming into focus. So women led shelter management can should not be looked at in isolation. There also has to be a support system which you prepare, so that women are able to grow further. And they all need to be backed by different multi stakeholders uh, through evidence based systems. Uh, Sometimes men says, oh, that work has been given to the women by the government, let them do it. That doesn't really work out, because sometimes, um, to go and collect the relief materials for the shelter requires some outside support. So it is very, very important that women uh, are supported by all the agencies to come together, because men are always supported by women, because men can go off to different places without a thought what is happening in the household or the community per se, because the women take charge. So if we are wanting women to take charge of the shelters uh, in the big way, I think it is very, very important that we also create support systems which will let them be uh, taking it forward without hesitation. Excellent work which has been done by different NGOs, and some of the examples which were shared were really good. But to scale it up, again, I will say that unless and until we bring a proper guideline, proper management, there are available, but how much has it percolated down to the community level is the discourse is needed on that. Because uh, for men it is easier to get the idea what the guidelines are, because they are outside, they move around, they talk to a lot of people. But women stay in small places, and they are not able to get this knowledge base. So for any effective shelter management led by women, while we are targeting on certain activities, it's also important to give them the holistic picture. And while I could understand there was a lot of education related activities which was being done by Kutumbashri, and OSDMA was doing a lot of specialized training programs, the linkages were still somewhere loose or inadequate, which we really need to move forward. And the Caritas examples were very, very good in terms of uh, how NGOs are working. But we need to bring these threads together. And here, the private sectors need to be tapped, because during disasters many times it has been felt that uh, material is very easy to give, but the processes to be followed and nurtured is not given importance. I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for emphasizing the importance of scaling and institutionalizing women-led practices and inclusion of, specifically the inclusion of transgender in such practices. So moving forward, thank you all the speakers for such enriching presentations and discussions. We now have time for an open discussion. I encourage the participants to post their question on chat box, or they can open their mic and ask directly to the panelists. And then I'll now invite the reflection from our panelists and take up selected questions from the participants. If anyone has any question, they can open their mic and share the reflections. I guess not yet. I have one question with the panelists, that how can these women-led shelter management models can be sustained beyond project to ensure long-term community ownership?
Okay. So, if you are, first, I don't think so. I would really request Sphere, if they can, they should actually come up with a compendium of all the good practices which you have seen or people
Sure.
have witnessed. And with that, do a comparative analysis, what worked and what did not work. Once that has
Okay,
been done,
definitely.
it is also important to, like I mentioned, you women are not, as of now, I don't think women are still the custodian of the finances.
Yes.
So you, unless and until there is funding availability with women, they will not be able to. And it's of course with men also. I'm not saying that, but still, all the management committees, as far as I understand, would have been mostly men led. Now, unless you have more and more women who are leading the shelters, and they are doing it a little differently, it is going to be a little difficult.
Yeah.
So, the first thing is that, of course, the finances have to be available. The second thing, you need to come up with guidelines which is easier, and train them on how to
Mm.
take it forward. Shelter management has to be done. So, what, how? Because many a times when you go to a shelter, you find it's really badly maintained. Just
Yes.
before a season, it starts getting, the government asks, and everybody starts repairing it and other things. But you go to a household where women is there, you would see the house to be neat and clean, and it's, I mean, the mud houses, forget about the cement ones and other things, but it was absolutely well maintained in terms of everything. So why was it done, and why is it not being done? So somewhere, that whole aspect of, I am the owner, I need to do it, that's not there. So, the first, and I think it's very important for us to cultivate that ownership amongst the community, be it women or men. So, that's the first thing. That ownership has to be involved. The second is the funding has to be required. Third is also a proper understanding of what shelter management is. Shelter management, there are a couple of things which is required within a shelter. Identify that and focus on that. And then it is not just one time. We need to have regular, once a year mock drill does not work. If we do not, in Japan, every month they have mock drills for a toddler to the elderly. So everybody knows what to do. But here, if we do just once a month, it doesn't really work out. Well, I'm sorry, once a year.
Thank you, ma'am. Really, in case of OSDMA or Government of Odisha, we are taking a lot of initiative for participation of women and how they will lead in shelter management. You can see we have a and Abhamar also helping us. We have established a gender and social inclusion chain in OSDMA for how women participation will increase. Uh, in case of Odisha, it's not a multi-purpose cyclone shelter. It's not a project based. It's a regular work. Abhamar is very much true that once in a year organizing mock drill and making them capable to for participation or empowering them for participation in shelter management, that is very difficult. But really speaking, in shelter management, sometimes for the political interference and dilution from the political people, uh, it's very difficult to and the way the management, really I'm looking after shelter management in the state, but it's very difficult to bring the women to the forefront. Sometimes it may be a risk factor for them, that Abhamam know and all of us know also. But still, we are promoting from women participation in our shelter management. Basically, I have already told 300, 435 women sarpanches are, they may be dummy. Everyone knows that. But but now their participation is encouraging. I can say Odisha has UNESCO has declared 26 villages as tsunami ready. Because of participation of the women, the community mobilization was so good, and they became so impressed. That's why we got tsunami certification. So it's true. The women participation and women leadership is very crucial, bring change in the society. But simultaneously, you have to also be very practical, and you should not take risk also simultaneously. I know how shelter management is going on in Odisha, because directly I'm looking 911 shelters in state. So participation is required, leadership is required, but we are slowly injecting the things among the community, to how the women will lead it. But still, it is becoming very difficult for us, to make it sustainable through the support of women. But it is possible. We are trying to do it. Thank you.
As rightly said, sir, it is not impossible. It just takes time to put it into the system and to just make it move forward. Thank you so much. Moving forward, Monisha ma'am, if you have something to say, we would love to hear from you.
I think Abhaji and Meghnadji have covered it very well, and I'm so glad to hear all the points and the synergies that all of us have. And definitely, any initiative for DRR is it shouldn't and is never limited to only projects. We usually try to make efforts so they are long lasting, and when we are leaving any communities, the values remain with them and they are able to continue forward with them. So yeah, keeping those in mind, having some inputs within our practices is important. And I think one of the very important things, as Avarzu was mentioning, is that it's not only about giving a certain responsibility to women and letting it be and let them. I think at the end of the day, it is for the people. It is not just to cater to the requirements of the women alone or a certain section of the society alone. It is for everyone, but in an inclusive manner. So I think that is what has come out from this, and I'm so glad even I could get to learn so much from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Moving forward with vote of thanks. On the behalf of Spare India Academy, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to all of you joining us for today's insightful session. Your active participation and thoughtful engagement made this dialogue deeply meaningful. As cyclones continue to impact millions of people across India's coastal states all the year, throughout the year, your commitment to inclusive women-led community-centered disaster management is more critical than ever. A heartfelt thanks to our speakers, Mr. Meghanand sir, Dr. Shrijit sir, Ms. Monisha ma'am, and Ms. Abha ma'am for their powerful insights and practical recommendations, from evacuation leadership to early warning system to inclusive shelter design and to multi-stakeholder collaboration and scaling. Your contributions have added an immense value to our shared mission of building resilient and empowered communities. To all participants, representatives from government, agencies, self-help groups, humanitarian organizations, academia, and community networks, thank you all for being a part of such an important conversation. Your presence reflects a growing collective to resolve and strengthen the gender responsive and inclusive disaster risk reduction in India. We look forward for your continued engagement in our upcoming session under the Spare India Academy as we advance dialogue and action on disaster preparedness, gender inclusion, public health, and humanitarian contribution. Please stay connected with us through the Spare India Academy platforms and don't forget to share your feedback. Thank you once again. Stay safe, stay resilient, and committed to inclusive DRR. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.